Well, howdy there, folks. How are you? I'm very excited for this video. I'm very excited for this concept. I am very excited for this course. If you don't know already, I have been sharing this on my Twitter and the Immigrant Programmers Twitter account. So why are we here today? Why it's a Sunday and why there's a live stream going on? We are supposed to do live streams on Wednesdays, right? Well, yes, we still do live streams on Wednesday, but Sunday morning, 10 a.m. EDT, we will be doing a live stream on Angular. And this time, all the Sundays will accumulate and finally help you make a great Angular project with industry standard code, and that you can put it in your resume, in your GitHub, or just learn with it and then start creating your own. So my ideology with this course is simple. I want to teach you Angular. I want to go live every weekend. I want to interact with you guys. And that's why this course is going to be very different than you have probably ever seen before. Because this is like the best thing combined, because you like YouTube, you like free content. Everyone likes that. I learn everything I know from YouTube and from free resources. So there we go. We have YouTube and we have live audience. And what's the benefit of live? Well, you can ask your questions right there and then in the chat. Also, if you have some questions after the lecture or after the video, you can say next week, you can come back and ask me the question again. So what my plan is, every weekend, every live stream, in the end, about 15-20 minutes, we'll keep it for Q&A. Obviously, today we won't have a Q&A session because this is the first video, this is the first in the series of Angular course. So obviously today we won't have a Q&A section. If you have any questions, drop them in the live chat below. I would be happy to answer you. But the goal is each and every question that you have should be answered there and then or in the next live stream. We will be building an Angular app from the scratch. So I will actually generate a new project in front of you, and we will build a complex but very useful application for you guys and for you to learn. Thank you for welcoming me. We have my father in the chat. And anyways, going forward, so that's why I'm very excited. And what are the prerequisites for this course? So the prerequisites are simple. You need to know HTML, CSS, and basic JavaScript. And by basic JavaScript, I mean you need to know what an if-else is, what is the for loop, etc. So you need to know those things. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated. You don't need to be a master. Now let's discuss what we will build in this course. So we will build a web application that tracks the prices of cryptocurrency. So it's going to be very cool. And you will have an ability to add your holdings. So maybe you can add, I have 0.5 Bitcoin if you have you're rich. And you can add that, and then you'll be able to see your own profits or losses, and we can have authentication, etc., all sort of stuff. But the big picture is we will have a layout of the website. We'll have a list of cryptos, right? Now, my plan is to give you a list of cryptos and which will show you the current price, etc. If you click on that, I want to fetch the data from a real API. So nothing would be hard-coded in the end. You would be getting the live price of Bitcoin, live price of Ethereum, live price of Dogecoin to the moon, etc. And in the end, we'll use Firebase for database. We'll do sign up and login for authentication. We'll protect our routes so that if someone is not authenticated, they can't go into certain pages or certain sections of our application. And that is all we're going to build. Now, this is kind of a layout. Obviously, this is very basic layout. Our website is going to look much better than this. But just to give you a big picture, on the left-hand side of our screen, we'll have coin of the day. So every day there will be a new coin. Everything would be dynamic, not from day one, but in the end, everything would be dynamic. You would have coin of the day, the logo of that coin, the price, and then a small description of that cryptocurrency. On the right-hand side, you will have a list of cryptocurrencies that are top 10 by market cap or by anything, and you would have the current price of that crypto. And when you click on that, you should go to a new page. For example, let's say you click on Ethereum, you should go to a new page where you would have a chart of Ethereum of last 48 hours of prices, and you will have a description below. You can add your holdings. So it's going to be a big, complex application, but it's going to be an awesome application. I love web development. I love crypto. So what's the better way to create a project about it. Now, for those who are completely new to Angular, who don't know what Angular is, we will be taking this live stream very slow. The first live stream is just about introduction. And personally, I'm not a theoretical fan. So I won't teach you anything in 1 week and say the next week, well, that's not really the good way of doing things. And no one does that in the industry. And you need to learn a whole new way that I'm going to teach you today. No, it's not going to be like that. In Angular, we use HTML, CSS, and TypeScript. And if you don't know TypeScript, don't worry. I will link an awesome article below. Awesome because I wrote it, and then that you can learn TypeScript in 3 minutes. So after this video, just remind me. I'll link to that in the description below. Now, Angular is a great framework. Angular is not only a single page application framework, but it has a lot of advantages. You can build progressive web applications with it. You can even build native mobile applications. And by native, I mean you can use Ionic, Cordova, or NativeScript, and you will be able to build an Android, an iOS, and a web application all from Angular, and it's great. You can create desktop applications if you want. So those applications that might run outside the browser, even that is possible. The code generation and code splitting is awesome in Angular. And the great thing with Angular is we don't need any other library. Angular is built in and shipped in with its routing, with its schematics, with its testing library, with its observables, RxJS, if you know about that. And there are a lot of features. And if these things are not making a lot of sense to you right now, don't worry. I don't want you to get overwhelmed. I'm just giving you a big picture. I'm just throwing out words to you, towards you. But we will go into each and every detail. We learn each and everything along the way. We have templates. We have Angular CLI. CLI is a whole another story, but it's awesome, and we will use that today. There are great IDEs. My favorite is RWebStorm and Visual Studio Code to use with Angular. Obviously, there are more out there, so if you want, you can check them out. And in the end, you can do testing, animation, and everything else with Angular. So yes, you can even add animations, and Angular has support for that. You can do testing, and you don't need to download any other library. You don't need to choose. Angular will give you everything you need to build a scalable and a great application. Now, the first thing we need to do is we need to create a new project, right? So to create a new project in Angular, you would need a terminal, and you would need to download Node.js. So for you who don't know what Node.js is essentially a JavaScript backend language, a backend framework, but Angular uses it in the behind the scenes. Angular uses it. You don't need to know anything about Node.js, but you do need to download it. So if I were you, I would click on this button. I would go with the long-term support version, which is 14.17 today at the time of recording this video. Just download this. It is a regular download. You don't need any coding or any professional skills for that. It will just download the file, and it would ask you for basic steps to basically download Node into your system. Once you are done with that, you need to download or install whatever you can say Angular. Now, how do you do that? Let me show you. If you're a Windows user, you can open your terminal or PowerShell. I'm using Mac, so I'll open my terminal. And what you need to do is you need to just write this command: npm install -g Angular CLI. Now, what is, can I zoom in? Yes, I probably can. So this is the command npm install -g. -g is for global. It is installing in your whole machine and not just in a small project. And then you can write @Angular CLI. This would help you download the latest version of CLI into your computer. I have just done that before recording this video, before going live. So I would recommend you do that right now. So npm install -g Angular CLI. After that, you have many options. You can either use the terminal to create a new project, etc., or you can go to your Visual Studio Code or preferred IDE and open the terminal within that. So I'll just go to my Visual Studio Code. I'll open the terminal. And then I would just do ng new. So this is how you do, this is how you create a new application. You just need to write ng new, and then let's say we are creating a demo application today. So we won't actually build the project today itself, but let's build a demo application. So ng new demo. So this says Angular CLI requires a minimum Node.js version of either 12 or 14.5. Now, why is that? And thank you, Apur, for commenting out by saying it's a great initiative. I really appreciate that. And let me know if you are here to learn Angular as well. That would be awesome. And going back, so why are we getting this error? So for those who have already downloaded previous version of Node.js, you will get this. And why? The reason is Angular recently launched a new version, which is Angular 12. And Angular 12 needs the latest version of Node.js. So all you need to do is go to the link I just showed you before. So I'll open that again in front of you. So this is the home page of Node.js. You just need to download the 14.17, which is the long-term support version of Node.js. And I'll download that in front of you, and you can do that as well while I do it. So there you go. Once you start downloading, it will show a window like this. You can just do continue. Yes, once this downloads, you will be able to generate a new project. And today we will be going through these things. We will be creating a new project. I'll tell you what components are, what are templates, what are services, what is dependency injection. So just the basics. We'll just cover and touch the basics of Angular today. In the next video, in the next weekend on Sunday, what you can do is you can come back, you can ask questions if you have any, and then we will build the actual application from sidebar to toolbar to the main application, lazy loaded pages. And if you don't know what lazy loading is, I have linked to my video down below. You can learn that right away. And that is the vision of this first and the next week, the basic intro and creating our application. Okay, let's try again. So it will ask you after a while that if you want Angular routing. So if you just keep on pressing enter, what it will do is it will give you the default. It will give you it will automatically choose the default answer for you. So if I just write Y, or if I just press enter, it will automatically do that. Now it is asking me what kind of style sheet format do I want to use, and I want to use CSS just for ease of use. So CSS it is. And then it might ask me a couple of more questions, and in the end, it will generate an Angular application for you. As you can see, it's creating many files in the background. We will go through all those files whenever the time comes. Today, I'll tell you about some basic ones. And once all the NPM packages and everything is installed, you will be able to start coding. So I'll just wait for that to complete. And if you're doing that with me, that's great. And you can let me know if you have any questions until now, or if you're facing any challenges doing the same on your side, on your computer. It might be a Mac or Windows, or yeah, Windows, it doesn't matter. So once it installs, we'll go through components. Now, just to give you an overall, a brief idea of what components are. Well, components are basic building blocks of your application. A component can be as simple as a text bar. A component can be as simple as a button or a simple piece of text, a heading, and component can be as complex as your own whole application. So yes, it is really open-ended. It really depends on the architecture and the kind of coder or programmer you are. A component is basically, a component comes with 4 files, and out of those 4, you just need to worry about 3. Number one, we have the HTML file. So let's say the name of your component is toolbar or sidebar. We will have an HTML file where you'll obviously write the HTML. Then we will have a TypeScript file. So yes, in Angular we use TypeScript. You don't really need to generate and use types, but if you do, your application will be more secure and more strict in terms of, and it will be less prone to error. Then we have the CSS file or any kind of style file where you'll be actually writing styles. And then we have a test file. And that's the fourth one that you really don't need to worry about right now. Test is something we will cover in the later stages of this course, or maybe we won't even cover that if this course takes more time than we anticipated. So yes, HTML, TypeScript, and CSS. And let's see if it has already created some files for us. So it has created a project, as you can see, demo. We have package.json where all our dependencies might be. Now, I won't go into them right now. I don't want to overwhelm you in the first video, in the first live stream. We will go through them whenever the time comes. So as you can see, it created a component. The name of the component right now is app. This is the root component of our application. Now, as I said, it has an HTML file, it has a CSS file, it has a TypeScript file, and it has a test file. So this file that ends with .spec.ts, that's the test file in Angular's world. So I'll just open the HTML for you and the TypeScript just to give you an overview of what we have. This is the test file, and this is the TypeScript. Yes. So right now our test file is really simple. In our app component TypeScript file is really simple. All we have is a variable named title and then the value. So this obviously, as you might know, this is a string. But with TypeScript, you can also say it is forced to be a string, so that if someone tries to write 0 here, your IDE or Angular will and should give an error. Right now, it's still installing, so it's still installing some packages and it's setting up. So right now, it might not give us an error. But yes, whenever you will run the application, it will throw an error, and we will see that soon when we serve our application in the browser. Let's see what's the progress over here. And don't worry about these errors or these red lines. It will all go away once our NPM, our Angular and all its modules are downloaded, and Visual Studio Code will understand what kind of application it really is. It's taking a little longer than usual because I just installed a new version of Angular. Now that won't happen every time. So if you have just installed Angular, if you have just installed Node.js, it might take a little longer than usual. And right now it's taking that time when I'm live. So that's awesome. Let's have a look at the HTML file until that installation completes. So the content below is only a placeholder and can be replaced. Delete the template below to get started with your project. So basically what they're saying is they have just created a basic template for us. They're saying you don't really need to use it. It is just to show you kind of a demo of how Angular works and their own branding, etc. So they have put the CSS right in this file, then you have the basic HTML. But obviously you don't need to learn anything about it. They have some links where you can go to material. And yes, material is something we will cover in this course as well. So until this installation completes, which is taking much longer than expected, what I'll do is I'll just tell you a little bit more about this course. So we'll be using Angular material. Now, Angular material is something that will give you a lot of features, a lot of tools to build your application. And if you don't know what Angular material is, let me just show it to you. So Angular material is basically a UI component library, and let's have a look. As you can see, it's Angular 12. It was recently released. I think last week was the release of Angular 12. Now with Angular material, you will have a lot of featured components. For example, if I just show you an overview of what kind of components it will provide you. It will provide you an autocomplete, a badge, a bottom sheet, a card, button toggles, cool type of buttons, for example, icon buttons, circular buttons, etc. It will provide you checkboxes, chips, date pickers, expansion panel, dividers, dialogues, which is basically a modal or a pop-up, form fields. All the complex forms can be created using simply Angular material. It will provide you a grid, and for this course, we might be using this grid, or we might even use Bootstrap. So stay tuned. In the next video, we will. In the next video, we will install and start using Bootstrap as well. And if you don't know what Bootstrap is, we will cover that as well in the next video. So Apur here is asking, are you using Angular 12 or any other version? So yes, I am using Angular 12, and I just downloaded the latest Angular version, which was released last week. And because of that, our project is taking a little longer time than expected. It is downloading Node.js and Angular in the background. Let's see if it's completed yet. No, it's still running in the background. So yeah, as you can see, we have Angular 12. Now where you can check if your application is using Angular, which Angular version, all you need to do is you need to go to your package.json. Now in the package.json, you would be able to find Angular dependencies. For example, we have Angular animations, common, core, compiler, and you can see all of them are 12.0.1. So yes, we are using Angular 12, and if Angular comes out with a new version while we do this live stream course, while we generate this project, I will update my application to Angular 13 and so on, so that we always learn the latest. We always learn with the latest Angular technology out there. Now the question is, why should we use Angular material? When we have so many options out there, we have material theming, we have Bootstrap, we have ng Bootstrap, which is specially catered for Angular, and we have a lot of other things as well. The question comes, why Angular material? Well, they have two simple answers. Number one, Angular material is built by Angular team. Every component and every behavior of that feature of that component would be Angular friendly. Now, by that, what I mean is when you click on a badge, when you click on an autocomplete, when you select something from a dropdown, you need to listen to that event, right? Because whenever you enter something or whenever you click on something, that is essentially an event. Now, you have two options. Either you can do old style coding by listening to that event, and whenever that event happens, doing something, or you can use Angular's features. So when you use Angular or Angular Material Autocomplete or any other component here, it will trigger the functions that Angular is supposed to do. And in the end, testing is also very easy because you are just testing Angular application. You are not testing Angular with Bootstrap, with NGX library, with anything else. You will be always testing Angular application because you will be in the Angular framework. Now there's one library, one kind of tool that we will download from outside, which is ng2 charts. Now that's basically, if you don't know ng2 charts, it's basically the Angular's wrapper around a chart.js library. Chart.js is, I guess, it has more than 20 million npm downloads every single week. So chart.js is a really awesome and really reliable library that we can use to generate charts, and we will be using the Angular wrapper around that. Now, as you can see, it's still taking more time to download, so I'll let it complete. And after this live stream ends, I will cut this part out so that anyone who's watching later on, they won't need to see the full compilation of our project. Abhishek here is saying that he's late for the stream. It's totally fine. Next weekend, you can also join us live and you can ask your own questions. You can see this video yourself after the stream ends, and maybe if you have any questions, you can ask them. Just to give you a quick brief of what's happening over here is we have just started a new Angular project. We have covered the basics of what Angular is and what kind of project are we going to build, the course outline for this course, etc. And we have just downloaded the new version of Node.js and Angular. So we have downloaded Node.js 14 and Angular 12. And because of that, our Angular setup is taking a very, very long time, much longer than we expected and anticipated. It has been already about 10 minutes since it's trying to install packages and building in the background. So we are waiting for that to complete. I can see it says package installed successfully. So you are here at the perfect time because now we're going to start the project. So once the packages are successfully installed, what you need to do is you can obviously go through the files just to give yourself a brief understanding of what's happening behind the scenes. But the first thing you need to do is you need to go inside a folder. So right now I'll do cd demo, which will take me inside the demo folder. Now I'm in the demo folder. Now I can do ngserve. Now ngserve, ngserve, ngserve is the basic command to start and bootstrap your application. And I'll share that with you in the chat here as well. Now with ngserve, what will happen is Angular will create and compile our application, and also in the first run, it might take a little longer than in the future ones, and it will run our application on port 4200. You can also choose your own ports. ngserve comes with a lot of parameters that you can pass. All are optional and they have a default value. So by default, your application would run on localhost 4200. You can pass ports, you can pass anything else you want, but this is how you run a basic Angular application. And once it compiles, we will see what's working and what's happening behind the scenes. And in our HTML, we might be using this title somewhere. So if I just copy this and try to find this in our HTML file, here you go. So this is the span, this is the title. So what we want is that this title is not hard-coded. As you can see, we have app is running, and then we have two strange curly brackets, and inside them we have a title. Now, just to give you a brief overview of what's happening behind the scenes, this title, whenever we write something in curly braces, in two curly braces, Angular assumes that this is a variable or this is an expression which is not HTML. Angular assumes that this is something that it would be able to find in your TypeScript file. So when we do something like this, Angular assumes that this title is not text. This is something it needs to fetch from your TypeScript file. Now, if you don't have the title in your TypeScript file, it will evidently give you an error. So if it did not have this, it will throw an error and say it could not find title, variable, etc., something like that. But in the end, if the variable exists, it would be able to get that and show here. While our application compiles, it will be able to show the value of our variable like it was a basic text. Now, the advantages of this are huge. It basically bridges the gap between your HTML and your logic. If you have an image, if you have an array, imagine you have an array of objects, complicated objects like users or maybe their statuses, their feed, their photos, everything can be simply by the help of these interpolation brackets or string interpolation or curly braces, whatever you may call them, you would be able to refer your actual variables in your TypeScript file. Now assume you're building Facebook, right? If you're building Facebook, You will have a lot of things in the background that you need to fetch. You will have a user. So first of all, the user will go log in, etc. Then you will have something like user friends. Now, a user might have 400 friends. Now, basically, that's an array of 400 objects, right? If you boil down to what it is an array of 400 objects, and each object has a username, has a profile pic, has a status, has a relationship status, has a birth date, etc., and so on and so forth. And if we did not have something like this, if we did not have a connection between our HTML and our TypeScript, it would be really difficult because in your JavaScript or TypeScript file, you have to say, I want to select the span. Then I want to inject this title into the span, and it would be just complicated. So Angular brings us very easy way to work. It brings us an opportunity to work with simple things, and it just asks us to pay attention on logic. It just makes our life simpler and just say, well, you focus on the logic and we'll do all the heavy lifting behind the scenes. So behind the scenes, Angular might get in the span, and behind the scenes, Angular might be, injecting the title the same way that we can do with vanilla JavaScript. But Angular says, well, you don't need to worry about it. We will do that for you behind the scenes. Now, as you can see, now it's compiling Angular core, etc. Again, this is because I just upgraded Angular. This is because I just upgraded Node.js. It won't happen this every time we go live. It won't be this slow. But once we will be able to build this, once it finally runs, you will see that in localhost 4200, you will be able to go and run your application. So right now, if I go there, obviously nothing would be there. It will probably say it does not exist or not able to reach the page. Let's see what happens if we go right now. Exactly, as we expected. At the moment, it says the site can't be reached. So we'll wait for the ng-serve to complete. And whenever this completes, I will resume. I'll resume talking and I'll resume discussing with you what is happening and what we need to learn next. But until then, I'll stay on mute so that in the end, when this live stream ends, I can actually cut this part out. And for the future viewers, they won't have to wait as we are waiting live. Okay, after a lot of delay, it looks like our Angular is finally up and running. And again, the only reason it's taking a lot of time today is because we have installed a new version. So I'm really sorry for all the delay. I'm really sorry for making you wait. But don't worry, in the pre-recorded version of this video, if you want to see this again in the future, or if anyone else would be watching this, I would be cutting out all the waiting time so that you would have a seamless experience while learning something. So now let's try to reload this page. And now if everything works on right, it should show a kind of an Angular application with our title on the top. So there you go. Congratulations. If you were doing this as I was doing, if you were coding on your side as well, you have an application running. You have your first Angular application, and congratulations to you for doing that. Now, as I said, the title is dynamic. The title is something that is coming from our TypeScript file. Let's just try that. So if I go here and change crypto moon. Let's say I do crypto moon, and if I save this, now Angular is really cool, and a lot of other web frameworks do this as well. Whenever you make any change in your HTML, TypeScript, or basically anywhere in your project, it recompiles the whole Angular, it recompiles the whole application, and in your browser, it automatically refreshes your application. So really, you don't have to work on anything else than your core logic, then creating your application, then working on your application. And these small things really add up. So now we can see our title is Crypto Moon app is running. So that is great. We have our Angular application. We have used string interpolation to basically send the value of a variable into the HTML without doing anything fancy or anything crazy. And that is really awesome. Now, obviously, we can change the name of this variable. We can add numbers, etc. Now, what happens if I write 0 over here? If I write 0, my compiler will start giving me errors. It will say type number is not assignable to type string. And why is that? Why is that? The reason is that this is TypeScript and this is not JavaScript, and you really need to focus on that. You really need to understand that and put that in your brains that this is TypeScript. In TypeScript, we have strictly typed objects, strictly typed variables. If you're coming from Java or C++ background, you will know that already. You will know that we need to create ints or strings or floats, and only those values can be assigned. You cannot assign a string to an int and vice versa. So again, we need to pass strings over here. So if I do Control Z or Command Z if you're on Mac, and if I save it, my application will be back and it will start running because TypeScript is checking in the background. And this is something I really love about TypeScript, and I really have started digressing. I really started moving away from JavaScript, even in backend, even in my Node.js projects today, I use TypeScript. And the whole reason is that it makes my application less prone to errors, and it makes it heavily script, heavily typed, and code sharing becomes really easy. So there we go. We have created a new Angular application. We have learned the basics of Angular. We have covered a lot of things today. I have showed you what this course is going to be all about. So if someone came in late, I'll just show you a brief overview of this course. So in the end, I want in my website on the left to have a coin of the day, which can be Bitcoin, Dogecoin, anything else. It can be Shiba, I don't care. It will be a coin of the day with the price of that coin and a small description below that. And on the right-hand side, we will have a list of 10 cryptocurrencies by market cap, which will give a price. When you click on any one of them, we will go to a new page with their 48 hours, last 48 hours of price range. It will be a chart, a beautiful chart. And then below that, we will have a text box where you can add your own holdings. So maybe you can add, I have 5 Ethereum at $2,300 price, and we will show you how much percentage gain or loss you are in. And we will also give you some details about what Ethereum is and a little description about every cryptocurrency. So that is our goal of the application. We will be building everything dynamic. We will be using APIs. We will be using Angular material, Bootstrap, and everything else, all the good stuff. So stay tuned. Every Sunday, 10 a.m. EDT, we will be live about 30 minutes to 1 hour. And I will make sure that this doesn't happen again, the compilation, because this was live video and I was updating live just to show you how to update. And that's why it took a lot of time in the background to build and serve my application. But I hope you learned something today. I hope you learned what Angular is. I hope now you can create a new project. You can install Node.js and you can start, and you know what string interpolation is. You know basics of what a component is. And the next one, we will dive deep. We will actually use for loops. We will build a sidebar, a toolbar, a whole navigation, a whole layout of our application. And most importantly, we'll be using lazy loaded application, lazy loaded pages, lazy loaded routes. If you don't know what that is, we have a video in the description below. Lazy loaded is the most important web dev skill in front end today. At least that's what I think. And that's what millions of other developers think as well. So I hope you learned something new. Ask me any questions in the starting or the end of next video. So all your questions will be answered in less than 7 days. That's the idea behind this video, this course. And we will be building a great project together, and you will be able to put that on your GitHub and or on your resume. Thank you very much for sticking till the end of this video, and see you next week on Sunday at 10 a.m.